What's up, vinyl community? It's your boy Chris. Those of you who tuned into my Goodwill thrifting video for yesterday, I just so happened to be in the area of Goodwill and thrift again today out on errands, so why the hell not? I'm gonna run in. Tuned in yesterday, a lot of my video was shot from my wife's car out running errands. Today I feel like a man, I'm in the pickup truck. Nah, not really, just kidding. So, this is the Goodwill that is the closest to my house, actually. But I just so happen to be on this side of town today. I've never found anything music-wise worth anything here. But I'm going to run in and take a look. I'll let you guys know what I find. See you in a minute. All right, guys. So I'm out of the Goodwill, and as you guys can tell from the picture before this, they had a lot. That's the most records I think I've ever seen in one Goodwill location. It was a ton. Unfortunately, really wasn't very much good. A couple of there were 2 or 3 in there that were, decent stuff like Carly Simon and stuff like that. But it's not anything I'm going to return to that often. And one of the Carly Simon records I already have. And but I got a couple for nostalgic purposes. And one, the biggest find's actually not a record. But anyway, let me just run through it real quick. All right, so this is a 12-inch hip-hop single, Tone Loc, Funky Cold Medina. All right, as a 34-year-old, who always enjoyed hip-hop, I've never heard Funky Cold Medina and not smile. So I don't own any Tone Loc on vinyl. It is 50 cents. Why not? I'll take it home. Even if I just take it home and jam out to it one time and take it back to Goodwill, it's worth 50 cents. But it made me smile. Why not? And next up, for some of you guys who don't know this about me, Best of Bee Gees Volume 2. I love the Bee Gees. I've got a big, enormous soft spot for the Bee Gees. I always have. Grew up a lot around the Bee Gees in my house. My dad loves to sing along to all the Bee Gees songs and, hit Barry's falsetto. He does it pretty well. I got to give him credit. He always has. But this one's got How Can You Mend a Broken Heart on it, and it's got some good stuff on it. They're absolute best, no, but the wax is super clean. I was surprised, and it's got all the original inserts in it, so that's really cool. But I really thought that was neat. Best of Bee Gees Volume 2, the RSO label. Just, really neat. For 50 cents, I'll take a Bee Gees record home for 50 cents. Again, all the original inserts, great condition, no split seams. Usually if I see anything even remotely decent at these places, then the record's wrecked. Not this time. And a couple of cassettes for you guys. I looked through, they had a lot of cassettes as well. Most of them are terrible. Then a couple of the ones I wanted to take home, open it up, no cassette in it. Damn, that pisses me off. But Phil Collins, No Jacket Required. Full disclosure, I owned that on vinyl for years. For years, I had that record sitting on my shelf in my man cave, and it never went on the table. For years. But that being said, people will buy it. You can sell it for a little bit of money. It has some trade value, so I threw it in a big box of stuff I just never listened to and traded it to my boy Dylan about a year or so ago, because it just never been on my table. But I've got more room for cassettes than I do for records these days. And this kind of just intrigued me. Do any of you guys know anything about a CD4 cassette? A CD4 cassette. At first I thought it was a dub. When I opened it up, I thought somebody had dubbed it. But come to find out, no, CD4 is actually a thing. You got the best quality sticker down there in the bottom. I mean, I don't know anything about it, honestly, but I was intrigued. It was like, okay, is this supposed to be like an audiophile cassette or some shit? I mean, I didn't know. My number one find of the day, I love Vince Gill. I've told a lot of you guys this in past videos. I love Vince Gill. And here lately I've been on the look for some cassettes because, again, it's hard to find some of his stuff on vinyl. And then I find Vince Gill, When I Call Your Name, on cassette. And I see it, and I immediately think to myself, like, watch, this is going to be one of the ones I'm going to open up, and the cassette's not going to be in there. Well, much to my delight, the cassette was indeed in there. So you got yourself a happy man here, Vince Gill, When I Call Your Name. So very happy about that. Now, there's a thrift store a couple of miles from here that I'm hoping is open. One thing about antique stores is they pretty much just set their own hours. They'll post hours, but they'll be open whenever the hell they feel like it, especially in my area. So we'll see if they're open, and if they are, I'll be right back hollering at you guys. Talk to you soon. Okay guys, so I'll go in the local antique store that a few friends of mine, my cousins, some family have been telling me about here in one of my nearest towns, and I was a little skeptical, not to lie, I'm not gonna lie, because for the most part, antique stores, they might have records, but they don't really have anything, overwhelming or anything that great. But I finally decided to give it a shot. Stop, walk up on it, and at first glance, it looks very promising. A lot of neat stuff sitting out front. The owner's in there, walking around, trying to sell people stuff, which is always a good sign. It's better than, having somebody sitting behind the counter and you don't even know whether they're the owner or not. But I go back to the back, see a couple of young kids digging. Again, always makes me feel great to go back and see a couple of young kids digging, because that's great. That gives me, hope that this hobby we all love so much is going to continue on for decades and decades and decades. So I always love to see that. That's just great. And so I start digging, and I've got a budget in mind, and I come up on a couple of good ones real quick. Like I told you guys about how many records I've had to sell so many times over, and one of the collections that bit the dust from mine, one of the ones I hate, the probably top discography I hated parting with, was my Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin's second favorite rock band of all time, right behind the Beatles for me. So I love them, and it really, like, I damn near shed a tear when I put all my Led Zeppelin together and sold it to a friend. But I knew I'd get it back, and it's been a mission, and I've managed to get a couple back. But I go through all these records. I find Coda, and Coda's got $20 on it. Coda's not worth $20. Coda's not worth $20. It's not. So I'm like, I just can't pay 20 for it. So I just keep rolling. I come up on John Wesley Hardin by Bob Dylan. Again, that's another one that I parted with when I started selling stuff. It had $8 on it. Like, okay, that's a lot more reasonable, and the record and the wax wasn't bad. So I, put that to the side. And I come up on some other good stuff. Boston's debut album. I like Boston's debut album. I had traded it a little while back, so I've been wanting to acquire it. It's got $7 on it. Like, okay, that's a little more reasonable. Still a little high. I think $5 is probably, right what I want to spend. But so I put it to the side anyway. And the guy comes up on all three of us while we're back there looking, me and the two younger people, and tells us that he'll give us 20% off on any of the records we buy. So I'm like, oh, great. So I keep looking and keep looking and keep looking. Guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted to walk out of there spending less than $15 today. That was my goal. I didn't want to spend $20 all day, including the Goodwill and, in this shop. That was my goal. So I'm like, okay, well, that helps. I can either come through here and buy 3 or 4 decent, or I can get, one big one if I can find one big one. And I keep going and keep going and keep going. And after digging for about 20 minutes, there's a lot of records in here, and they're jammed in pretty tight, so you have to move some stuff around. Led Zeppelin 4. Gatefold's in great shape. Not a damn thing in this world wrong with it. No split seams. That's great. Made me very happy. Original sleeve. That's always great. Wax looks great. Guys, I'm listening to that today. It's been a while since even for as long as I've been in my jazz kit, every time I ever wanted a break and I wanted some loud ass, in your face rock and roll, I'd go to my Led Zeppelin. Every time. Every time I wanted something a little more melodic I could sing along to, I'd go to my Beatles, I'd go to my Paul McCartney solo stuff. Every time I wanted some grunge, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden. Any listening session I have, guys, I listen to at least 2 rock or country records. Believe it or not. I know that's tough for you guys to believe. But I get up to the counter, and I'm like, okay. And by the way, the price tag on it was $15, which again, I think $15 is also a little high. Yes, even for a classic like Led Zeppelin 4, it sold millions, $15 is high. But he told me 20% off. I'm like, okay, so that's going to be like 12. So I get up to the counter, and the guy, you know, me and him end up talking about the album for a minute. He's a really cool guy. And another customer started talking about it, and all three of us were talking about it. I'm like, yeah, man, you know, wasn't all that long ago I sold this and really hated to do it and everything like that. And I went through my quick story with him, and he goes, I tell you what, I give it to you for 10. I'm like, man, that's awesome. Like, you totally did not have to do that. Thank you. Like, he's like, yeah, man. He goes, did you see anything else back there that you liked? I'm like, yeah, man, I saw plenty. I said, I just, you know, had a budget today. You know, a lot of days I go looking for records, I don't have a budget, but I had a budget today. And he goes, well, I'll tell you what, next time you come back, I'll give you 20% off again. Wow. So this guy right here's got a customer. I'll come back. Now, again, some of the records were definitely overpriced. It was mostly the big, you know, the big artists that were overpriced. Most of the, you know, top 40, you know, more modern, you know, stuff was about fair. But this guy's really nice, and if he's going to work with me, I'll be back. He had just enough good stuff to keep me coming back. And there's a really good craft beer bar within 100 feet of it. They're not open yet, unfortunately, damn it. Or else I'd go celebrate my Led Zeppelin victory here. But I got to tell you guys, just that made the trip into town worth it today. So I'm a very happy guy to scratch one of my probably top 3 or probably top 4 Led Zeppelin albums off. But When the Levee Breaks is top 3 probably Led Zeppelin song for me. So there's that. Great day. I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to go home. I'm going to clean some records. I'm going to listen to some records. A couple hours. I'll have a few beers. And it's going to be a great day in the man cave. For any of you out there today thrifting, looking around, hitting record stores, good luck. Hope you find some great stuff. Maybe you'll find a nice gentleman that'll work with you like I found today. So until next time, until next video, keep dropping that needle, you guys.